All right, the property prequel, be in the know before you buy. Nathan, how are you?
Nathan, that's very official. How are you, Matthew?
I'm good, mate. Another week in the property landscape. More headlines. It's all happening, mate. What are you reading at the moment?
Interesting times. All our listeners say, "Geez, that bloke says that every week." But, it is interesting times. Obviously, we had an election recently, and that was good to watch. And yeah, the markets. You're better to comment than me, but I think we'll see a bit of bounce back now. I think the pausing, the people sitting on their hands period's now over. There is still obviously the issue of interest rates, which will keep going up in the short term if you listen to what's going to happen. But I think generally people are going to get back to business now and start sort of transacting again. What do you feel?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. And just on last week's chat around the interest rates, it was it's an interesting time, obviously. Confidence, such a big one. So if you didn't listen to that ep, we'll give you a quick little deep dive on interest rates and what it could do, impact the market. Week before, we obviously had Troy as well, had some awesome feedback. A lot of real estate agents, actually. I didn't realise how many listen to this podcast, so they got a heap of key takeaways there, but also for buyers. So it's an interesting time. And I know for next week's chat, really topical, the Gold Coast Bulletin reached out. We're going to do a story with them, but all around, obviously, the price difference between like a knockdown sort of renovator versus new builds now is getting really wide. So, which is obviously due to the whole cost of materials and builders and all those sorts of things. So it's a really interesting time. Like it seems like every sort of few weeks, it's a flow-on effect from whatever's happening economically around the globe. So it's really interesting. And like today's chat's going to be a good one because we've got a crew in here. Husband and wife, married. Yes, I was trying to check the fingers. Yes, I see. Yeah, husband and wife crew. Firstly, having a crack, which we love. We'll get some insight into their experience from the company, Custom Built Builders. So, really well known around the Gold Coast. But one thing I like around here, Lisa also has got an interior design background, and Roy's got a building background. So it's sort of like this, what everyone's going through at the moment. They want to do the knockdown rebuild but then we've got that flavour of the month, which is interior design as well. So this is going to be an awesome chat. So Lisa and Roy, thanks for popping by.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries at all.
Yeah,
it's good to be. Me and Crossy were just chatting off air. We love getting power couples in who are just having a crack, eh?
Absolutely. And as we were alluding to, Lisa's no doubt the CEO of everything. and if it's anything like my household, Roy just gets told what to do. Yeah. Mate, you go and build it, and Lisa will style it and take all the rewards. So thanks for coming in today, guys. That's about it.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up. Yeah.
But actually, I was just wanted to ask as we kick off, how did you guys meet? Are you guys from the Gold Coast? Have you grown up? Obviously, I've sensing Roy's not, but yeah.
No, we actually met in London. We were both living over there back in the day. I think it was about 11 years ago now. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. And then I fell in love with the Kiwi in London, and he came back to the Gold Coast with me.
Oh, wow.
I grew up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and haven't left since, have we?
Yeah, we sort of come, and we didn't really know where we wanted to be. Lisa actually wanted to be in Sydney or Melbourne, and she's from the Goldie. She's like, oh, come back to the Goldie. We'll sort of come here, and then we'll figure out what we want to do. And then I came here and I was like, wow, how good is this place? Like warm weather, relaxed lifestyle, clean surf, like it's amazing. So I was like, we might just stay here for a little bit. And so here we are.
So Roy was a carpenter, and he came here not knowing anyone, so he was just labouring for like $20 an hour, and since then it's built up to have his own business. And
unreal. And did you go back to New Zealand from London or
holidays?
Yeah.
And family come backwards and forwards, but no, we came here.
Pretty much. Yeah, straight here.
Straight here.
Wow.
Mum picked us up at the airport, and I rocked up with Roy with like a mullet and his surfboard under his arm. She's like, who have you brought back?
You know what, Trams? This theme keeps happening on our podcast. We had Juliana turned
That's
up from
right. She had
Brazil,
the surfboard
and a backpack.
That's
and
right.
we had Matt Nemmer from Project X. That obviously, you guys would have seen.
Yeah.
Did the big house. Well, Matt just cruised up from Tarthra on the south coast of New South Wales. Didn't know anyone. Same as you, mate. Like just basically turned up looking for a bit of work. So I don't know what it is, Shrams. Who are we attracting?
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking then the extra luggage. You know, she's brought back some extra luggage, and
She has.
straight on the Gold Coast. And it's funny, Kiwis love the coast, hey.
Everything about it. It's like
what is
home.
It?
I think it's the temperature and it's like the climate. You know, we go through the hard months in New Zealand of cold
and wet.
Although
and
then it's absolute paradise here. It's warm. It's nice. You know, not much rain. Well, as of a year ago, not too much rain and stuff like that. So,
and just as a budding carpenter as well, did you see more opportunity? You think in Australia, I always hear opportunity being thrown around with.
I think so.
Across the ditch.
I think the best part about it is there's a lot of young, successful people here in all different things. They can own a coffee shop. They can own like a trade company. Entrepreneurs, and it's quite inspiring. You know, like people just giving it a go and having a crack and seem to be actually successful, which is quite. New Zealand's sort of overridden by older companies that sort of establish the markets, whereas here there's a possibility for young, fresh people to actually break in and actually be successful, which is. You know, it's amazing.
And just on that, do you think that's a bit of a trait over here? And this is nothing against New Zealanders because it could be totally wrong, just going off what you've said. But do you think there's a bit of a thing here where Aussies love to see someone else having a crack and we really want to support that guy, whereas it as a bit institutionalised over there? Is that
absolutely?
That fair?
Yeah, nail on the head.
Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it? So, Lisa, what about yourself? How did you sort of get into your field of expertise?
Well, I've just sort of fallen into it. I wouldn't really say it's my expertise, but I was in financial planning when we came back to the Gold Coast.
Okay.
I basically finished university. I did my economics degree.
Wow.
And then finished university and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So went to London, met Roy, came back, and then, I just fell into financial planning. And then went on maternity leave to have our first son. And that's when Roy's business really started to take off. So it just happened naturally that I started taking over the bookwork and doing all of the office side of things.
Yes.
And then we've popped out a few more kids since then. So it's just it's just sort of happened. And now that I'm starting to get a bit more time, I'm really enjoying getting into that interior space and having the opportunity to. So we've done a few small renos and it kind of started there, I guess.
Interesting, hey? Like it's cool though, here in the background, that makes a bit of sense having handy, like financial planning background, you know what I mean? Obviously, that's a handy little coop, isn't it?
Yeah.
To have as a business owner, like we've all been in business, like it's if you have someone on the books who understands finance, because mate, as you know, it's tough. Like,
absolutely,
I don't want to deal with that shit. Like, yeah.
It was a bit overwhelming taking it over. I was like, oh, what has been happening here?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Lisa, were you advising clients or were you doing paraplanning or what were you doing?
No. So I worked for a financial planning licensee. And I was actually in the business development team.
Right.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. And do you feel that that's given you a good foundation for what you're doing now with dealing with people? And
yeah, definitely. And even at university, you think what a waste of time that was. But I did a lot of business subjects, so I think it all kind of comes back to it. But yeah, working at the financial planning licensee, I had so much experience going around to small businesses and I would be with the BDM assisting them, but seeing all the strategies to help their business grow and, get clients. So I've related a lot to it back to custom built builders, which has been really helpful.
It's interesting, isn't it, with this day and age, we know we've got this labour shortage. Obviously, we've got a skilled labour shortage, particularly in your field, Roy, that you know only too well about. But across the board, getting good people is hard, and Shrams knows about it as well, as his business is exploding and trying to recruit the right people. And there's a common theme out there, isn't there, that you'd rather employ the right person and be able to train them.
Definitely.
As opposed to the coming out of university going, right, this guy or guy or lady's got the degree, but they're the wrong fit culturally. I find that so interesting. And what you're saying there, Lisa, is you've used that as a really good foundation, completely different industry, but it's taken you into the path that Roy's created through his build that you've just seamlessly been able to dovetail in the back of and add further value. I'm sure Roy says that, add further value. and again, we're sitting here on the Gold Coast, but I think that's across the board in Australia at the moment. And yeah, just keen on your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I'm just a big believer in everything happens for a reason. But at the time, I was sort of like, well, what a waste of time that was, university.
Yeah.
And I just grew up with the belief, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to get a good office job, and that's what I want to do, with no sort of foresight or passion. And then life's just sort of happened, and you don't even realize, you're just so in the moment. It's just progressing, and then you realize that everything has led me to here, I guess. And
Quite organically too.
yeah. But we're at the stage in life where Roy is really passionate about building. He loves what he does. And now I'm starting to get that too from the interior space, because I never knew what was my passion really. And now it's really good to be able to be in a position where we're both doing what we love. So very lucky.
So good. And when did Custom Built? Where were you like chippy and then you're like, right, I'm going to start my own thing?
2014.
Do the course and
Working for an amazing builder here on the coast. And then just sort of watching what he was doing and sort of understanding that and thinking that I could do it differently and I could do it better. Not an ego thing, purely just like I think I could do things differently and I think it would work for me personally and wanting the lifestyle that I want. So it just naturally progressed into that to sort of like get what you want out of life. I work hard and I work long hours and everything, but I want the freedom of doing what I want when I want. If I want the option to do it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
It does. I'm just thinking, take us back to that moment, mate, or that time in your life when you decided, okay, like I've now got the skills. I feel like I can have a go at it. It's a tough thing. I mean, I've watched Shrams over the last couple of years without embarrassing him. Like his business has gone from zero to hero very quickly because of the person he is and the ethics and things he lives by, his daily routines and stuff. And really just having that crack. But at some point, if you want to get there, like sometimes it's careful what you wish for. Like I want to be like this person, but it takes a lot of bloody hard work. At what point for you did you think, right, now's the time, I've got the confidence, I've got the skills, I'm going to do it. But did you still have a bit of trepidation around doing it?
for sure.
Yeah.
Especially because I don't really know the amount of people that I do now back then. So you're sort of trying to branch into something that's already a little bit locked off with other trades and companies that are in there. So you've literally kind of got to force yourself in and then prove yourself and actually come up with the goods, what you're saying that you're doing. So
and then fund it through.
And then fund it through. And then because you're starting from a tradies wage to get to a builder's wage, and that doesn't supplement that, if that makes sense.
It does.
And it's finding the work, like constant work, when you don't have that name established. And it was always like, when's the right time to do it? But there's never really a right time. And I think we just bought our first house, and Roy's like, I'm going out on my own.
Great. Now let's have a baby as well.
Yeah. Good times.
Because you got three? Is that
Three
right?
little
Yeah.
boys.
What are the
Little
ages?
So 4, 2, and 10 months.
Jeez. Yeah. Wow.
Busy boys.
Yeah. So there you go, right there. It's I love hearing people who are juggling life, because everyone makes excuses, I guess. Hey, like, you prioritize what you prioritize, right? So it's a really good example, and we'll go a little bit more into the property side, but just one more on the business side. Like what I'm hearing there as well, Crossy, is like life's always going to open up doors and opportunities. You know, it's our job to walk through them, right? And I heard this one, life's going to close the door on the ones we're not going to keep going through, and keep the ones open that we're supposed to have. So you're saying, Lisa, everything happens for a reason. I feel it does, but we also got to take that step inside, right?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things Roy always says is like, life's there to be lived. He doesn't want to get to be an old man and be like, what have I done with my life? So
I love it.
Yeah.
got to take those risks and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, well, that's enjoy the
Enjoy the ride. And you guys have done that. You know, we spoke off air, and we want to sort of dive deep into this now. We know about your Michelle Drive project at Currumbin, which Matt and I are both Southern End Gold Coasters. We know that area and that street very well.
Beautiful street.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Is that your first project that you did, or is there some ones before there that we want to sort of cover off? What was your first ever one you did together?
Like development.
Yeah.
That was our first
Okay.
development.
Jeez, not a bad start.
Yeah.
That's an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
Love that. I actually like before I even knew you guys, like we've obviously stayed connected online, but yeah, I remember driving past that. I was like, yeah, I like that.
Great.
Love that.
Great street. And as we spoke about, like I know the house that was there. You know,
Yeah,
I remember when the
Pink
auction was
Fibro
on.
Shack.
Yeah. the pink fibro shack, Michelle Drive, for those that don't know, it's directly across from the creek.
Beautiful.
Crumlin Creek, north facing, it's epic. And so talk us through, obviously, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that property, the pink house, that went to auction?
It did.
Correct.
So you had to buy that at auction?
Yep.
Knowing, and obviously, Roy, you were knowing in your mind with your building experience what you could actually do on that block. So when you obviously first inspected it, going to the auction, you would have had an idea of what you wanted to do. Talk to Shrams and I about how you felt bidding at auction, going to auction, buying it, and then thinking, was there any times, geez, what have we done here? Have we bitten off more than we can chew?
All of that condensed into a pretty short amount of time too.
I think I was a bit naive at the time because we actually did the development with some good friends of ours.
Right.
So we'd had a few meetings beforehand talking about it, looking for the right block. And I don't know, we went to the auction, and in my mind, I just thought we were going to see, thinking it would go for way more than what we would be in the running for.
Like, we had given ourselves a budget of X amount.
Yep.
And the clients are great people, and we sort of said, oh, this is the amount, and we're stopping at that. And it basically came down to us and someone else bidding on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to that mark, and then it went past that mark, and then it went past that mark. I was like, oh, geez, you know. And then I think he got like almost the ego, like, oh, they're not going to beat me. And then it went again and again and again, and then he threw in like a blowout bid. And we won it, and I think it was 80 grand more than what we were hoping to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the time, that was quite.
It was a lot of money at
Yeah,
the time.
it
That
was.
was 2018.
Ah, okay, yep.
So, yeah, the end of 2018, and a lot's happened since then. So,
Yeah. It's been a lot of money at the time, but then when he threw the knockout bid in, were you thinking, what are you doing?
Oh, look, I was, in my heart of hearts, I was like, yes, go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could see what it could become. And you sort of you got to think, well, you've got to have a budget. You can't just go out and just throw money around without it being calculated. But we did, and it sort of passed. So.
Yeah, that's awesome tip there. Like, that's one of my favourite tips for auction is obviously you got to know what I guess it's worth, what your budget is, and then you got to have that buffer because there's also an opportunity cost, right? Like I heard you say there, Lisa, which I want to touch on in a second, is you talk around the site you wanted, right? I believe location does 80% of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to think if you're thinking, all right, we got this plan, X amount of years, we might sell it off or whatever. What is the opportunity cost? What is that extra buffer we could? Because you sort of think out, you said probably 80 grand over that limit, but I'm sure you look back now, it's worth it, isn't it? So because you seen the site, you knew what you were going in with. So I think the key takeaway there is it sounds like they had a plan. It's probably the biggest one where so many people get it wrong at auction because they got no plan.
And that's one thing you and I talk about is when people have to pay a little bit more to get a really good property, I'll bet my bottom dollar by the time you go to settle that property, that worry is gone.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You're not even thinking about it.
Yep.
And particularly, as Matt's saying, if it's the right property, which, again, we won't go on about it, but that block particularly was a cracker. Anyone who knows real estate goes, well, that's a no-brainer. Easy for us to say, wasn't our money.
Yeah, but it's here's one for you, Crossy. Sometimes you got to pay a little bit of tomorrow to secure today. You like that one? Yeah.
There's about 3 or 4 more of those.
So, Lisa, can you give us an update? I heard you say we were looking for the right block with the partners who you went in with. What was that chat like? What were you looking for? Like, what did you consider a good block just to give some value to buyers?
Well, we knew we wanted to do a subdivision.
Awesome.
And I guess location was everything. So Roy had actually gone to look at a block a few streets back in Currumbin, and the real estate agent pointed him out to Michelle Drive. So he kind of just stumbled upon it. And just driving down that street, you're just instantly like, this is beautiful. Didn't even know like the Gold Coast had this. It's so you just feel like you're separated from everything, and it's just so beautiful. So we knew it was special straight away, didn't we? And I don't think there was any other blocks that kind of competed with that. It was like all our eggs in that basket at the time.
Did you have a set square meter? Because I just heard you say subdivision. Like, was there obviously a square meter? Did you wanted to try and gain or anything, frontage or anything like that?
Ultimately, we had like a design that we wanted to build.
Yep.
The first plans that came out, they were about 100 square meters bigger each side. And then at that time, because what do you call it? Like COVID come in, like everything started to change, and we sort of thought, well, maybe we need to scale it back a little bit because we don't really know what the market's doing. This was like right in the heart of when everything sort of shut down. So we pared it back a little bit. But other than that, no, it was more just getting the right amount of components to a house. So, like 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms.
Yep.
Detached, butler's pantry, all those things, but condensed into a size that's still grand, but that's still cost effective too. So you're not putting yourself at risk.
Can I ask, when you did that, first of all, your plans for it, but also your partner's plans that you want, the guys you did it with, because we always say, think with the end in mind. So what was the exit strategy? Were you guys always thinking, right, we're going to buy this, develop it, build and sell?
Yep.
That was always your plan?
It was always the intention to sell both.
Oh, wow,
really?
sell both. Okay,
Yep.
So it was purely commercial. So that's interesting. So let's talk about how that actually looks from numbers. We're not trying to find out your first financial situation, but as far as, because you've got obviously the land component, you've got all these consultants costs that most people don't even know, engineering and town planning and certifiers. And
The council infrastructure was a big one.
Yeah. Everyone says that. Yeah.
Because we spoke a couple of weeks ago, probably in one of our deep dives that we do around, a lot of people on the Gold Coast want to get into a bit of this type of stuff, don't they, Shrams?
They love it.
They love it. Duplexes, whatever. I think it'd be a great opportune time to go, right, we bought the land. It took us XYZ amount to actually get through council. And then we had, and I'm assuming where that location was, you probably had a height limit with the flooding.
Yep.
So do you guys just want to run through quickly summary of sort of you acquired the land and then how did it all unfold from there?
And any hurdles you came across during it? Yeah.
Yeah, loads of
go?
hurdles. Yeah, so there's a height restriction for height. If you want to go higher, then you've got to engage your neighbours and put it to like a town planning where they get a chance to say.
Yep.
So we kept it below that just to streamline the process of it. But it falls into the flood overlay, which is on the coast now. And that particular street, I think it's like 2.2 metres off the ground.
2.2?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then we wanted, that's fine, but then we wanted to have like a wine cellar and the laundry at the bottom, which are classes like
Habitable, yeah.
Correct. But the town planning said no. So we basically went to war with them. Well, the council said no. We went to war with them for about a year and a half.
Jeez.
They wanted us to have like external stairs going into the house, basically just almost like a Queenslander look.
Yep.
But
So no front door on the ground level.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though it goes outside that thing, I think because it was so new, they didn't really know where they stood with it, and they sort of had to cover themselves. But anyway, we fought for a year and a half, and we got the entry downstairs and the internal stairs and stuff like that. But they wouldn't sort of budge on the wine cellar and the laundry at the bottom.
Even the garage door had to have slats in it so that water could go through. It couldn't be fully enclosed. So
I did notice that in some of your photos on
Yeah.
Instagram, actually. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.2, that's high.
Really high. So we bumped it to 2.4. So downstairs is used, I suppose you call it like a utility space, wouldn't you? With a garage, but we've made it big enough that it feels like a space down there. We added a deck and landscaped it all, and then it goes out to the pool, and it's actually become quite a nice little space. So yeah, we sort of tossed up, do you drop it as low as you can, or do you try and make it usable, which we went for the usable.
So that was a big design challenge because obviously the house is on stilts,
Yep.
so it's not exactly nice to look at. So they came up with the idea of putting screens in there to kind of block off some of the stilts where you could and just create spaces with the deck and some gardens. And yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but...
And as you're going through the process, are you getting fed this info and then you're having the change on the fly kind of thing? Or...
Yes and no. The height was right from the start.
Yeah.
We knew it was coming.
Yep.
We didn't know to what extent. And if you look at the National Construction Code, it should comply, but it didn't. So those were the challenges. We thought we would be able to get away with
Interesting.
A laundry and a powder room. Like
Yeah, and some of the things coming back were crazy. We were going to the point where we were going to supply the house with a dinghy. So that if someone got stuck down there, they could literally jump in, and they were actually considering these things to get it through. Like, it's
Wow.
quite bizarre.
Wow.
That's wild.
It is. Yeah. They're talking about having like food stocks. Like we'd have to sell the house with a box of food, like,
Yeah.
provisions and everything. It's quite, it was weird. It was quite,
So we were going to Heinz for some sponsorship, baked beans.
We sold it with a package of canned beans.
Wow.
yeah.
Is there anything on that you would have changed knowing now, or it's really hard to determine just to add value to any buyers who are going through that now?
Yeah, there's one thing I would change. We had cross bracing downstairs, and it's required because you're going 3 stories high. I would change them into structural portals, so they're inside, encased, and just a little bit cleaner out the back. It's a cost that's
Extra cost, yeah.
I think it would add value though. I think you'd get it back in hindsight. That's probably the only thing that I would change.
Interesting.
How long, the whole process, once you bought and settled the land, and then by the time that Lisa had worked the magic and you actually had this beautiful place, what was the time frame? Go to woe.
So the auction was in November 2018, and then held up in council for about a year and a half. So just when we got DA through, COVID hit. And so we were weighing up, do we bail? Like, is this going to be too risky? What do we do? And then Roy was like, no, let's push ahead.
Push ahead.
And
Love it.
it paid off. Like, the market
Yeah.
went crazy. So it worked to our benefit having that delay. But Unit 1, so it sold in September last year. So September
yeah.
21.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
Yep.
So just before the market kicked, because no one could have predicted what happened in COVID.
It was such a scary time.
That's right. So I can understand. I've never been in that situation, so I can't properly understand. But obviously, whenever you do a development, whether big, small, or otherwise, you've got a feasibility. It might be back of the coaster feasibility, or it could be a proper spreadsheet and detailed. But if the market hadn't have done what it did, you guys would have still had a number in mind that you know that you needed to sell for.
Correct.
To realise your profit or make it a feasible project. Yep. How much, without giving me figures, but how much did you exceed that sale price expectation by the time you did go to market?
Drastically.
Yeah, unreal.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah. But as the build progressed and we could see that the market was doing what it was doing,
more went into it.
We put more into it. So we
because you knew
upgraded
you'd get it
everything.
back.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
up-spec'd it to make it nicer and sort of go with whatever the market was doing. But we knew in mind what we had to get to either like just break even or make a profit. And it was still feasible. Even
Always had a
at the
plan.
start.
Always had a plan.
That's good, isn't it? Like, always give the market what it wants, which I'm a big believer in. Obviously, that's what you guys are saying there, Shrums.
Huge. And I always try to, because I chat to people who are thinking of developing, they always ask what do buyers want, and think good questions, because at the end of the day, you want to appeal to the consumer. I see people get it wrong sometimes. Like, they love a certain house type or design, whereas the market might think differently. And we'll touch on this in a second, Lisa. I'd love to hear your thoughts on trends and different things like that. They move quickly, don't they? So, mate, it's if you got to keep on flavour of the month, don't you? And if you're doing a development like this, I always think you either go all out, go focus and go hard, or take a back seat, because when you're dabbling, I feel they're the ones who might do one and then never do it again, kind of thing. I notice it's always the ones who have a plan. They go all in.
Yep.
They're like, all right, we're not going to skimp on fixtures, fittings, whatever. We'll try and make it feasibility and then appeal to the market. So for you, Lisa, what's your experience now? And I've seen some of your stuff on Instagram. Awesome. Like, I love it, all the trends and different things. You're definitely on trend. Where does the inspiration come from? And how can you relate that to when you were doing the build? Like, did you guys have like certain chats around, all right, we need to do this style, or, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, all my inspiration really comes from Instagram. I just find it such a powerful tool. And it's amazing when you start searching, just how much inspiration's out there, and so much great work. But yeah, being our first development, this was the first time that I got to kind of be involved, and with our friends that we did it with, I got to like help her out a lot, and I learnt so much. Awesome. And yeah, it was really fun but it was hard to separate that personal, okay, it's not for us, because at the time it wasn't. It was always, we're selling this. So what would people want? But
was that always a mindset you had? Did you have that kind of mindset? Yeah.
But the style of the house was very much both of our styles. We really enjoyed what we were doing. So it was a lot easier to decide what to put into it.
And then what about in terms of like fixtures, fittings, styles and things like that? Did you guys sort of, obviously you liaise with the builder and whatnot. How did that sort of relationship look like? Like, did you just have little meetings? All right, we're putting this kind of style in, or?
Well, we had a few meetings, but our friend that we did it with, we kind of just went off and did it all.
Yeah.
But Roy, you got to have a say in a few things.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Venetian plaster input was amazing.
Yeah, just a lot of, it was fun because I'd seen, obviously you had RenderX on here.
Yeah.
And I'd seen the Venetian plaster and I just thought it was so beautiful. So to be able to be, okay, let's try that in here. And originally we'd planned to put it on all the walls in the bathrooms, but then we're like, no, this is development, strip it back. So we decided on one feature wall and just all those sorts of bits where you don't want to get too carried away because you are still on a budget and we are doing this to essentially make money. So stuff we just had to strip back but still get to play around with it all.
It's a tightrope act, you know, where you sort of draw that line where you want to do the whole thing as render and then it's more cost effective to use nice tiles. So it's a real balancing act, really,
Yeah.
Really come up.
Yeah, well, I was saying to Lisa off air, like I jumped on both your Instagram this morning and everything that Lisa's got on there really resonates with what my wife and I love. It's exactly our taste, and whether that's because it's just that's in at the moment, but you know, the timber and it just that's what we're about. And as Shrams knows, we've done a renovation recently, but yeah, how hard is it keeping to that? Because I know with what we've been through, you look at it and you go, I would love that. And you go, oh, look at that price. Okay. Maybe that's not as important as what my wife thinks it is. How hard is that, obviously, on a project? And I think, obviously, that's more a commercial decision. But then when you go to do your next one, which we'll talk about, that's for you guys. Are you guys, at what point do you go, I can justify spending the extra $30 a square metre for that? Or do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So where do you draw the line there?
Yeah, well, this next project for us, we wanted it to be very practical. So, because we've got a young family, so we'll be looking at decisions like, yes, that might be a bit more expensive, but it's durable and it will last longer.
Yep.
But I think the best thing is to do, if you can't do everything, you've just got to pick your key pieces, what is going to be your main feature, and accept that that's going to cost a bit more money. But there's so many options out there and so many beautiful alternatives. Like if you wanted, you know, the real stone tiles, there's beautiful ones that you can get so much cheaper. They aren't natural stone, but you still get the look you're going for. So you've just got to weigh up, I guess, what's practical, what's your key feature. I
was just going to say, key tip for buyers, if you can add value, if you had a budget, you're looking to do a development, where do you think you shouldn't skimp on? If you were to give maybe 3 features of a property, what do you think you couldn't skimp on?
Tapware is a big one. I think tapware, for me, it's tapware, tiles, and probably like a butler's pantry. I think those add a lot of value to a home and an actual value to your home, as in it's your lifestyle. You've got those areas that you can use.
What about you, Lisa, from like a design side of thing?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think just like structural, you know, features, like we had that big stone wall,
Like
and
a
I think
feature
for
wall?
us that was, you know, a really big draw point. From what I receive on Instagram, everyone loves the stone wall, and I think when they went to auction and the sale point, that was something that drew people's eyes. And yes, that was an expensive feature, but I think without that, it would just kind of be not as special. So.
And what's next? Obviously, we'll talk about your own place, but is there any part of you or any ability to do any like more commercial type projects? Commercial meaning it's a buy, renovate, sell, or buy, build, sell, put some money in your pocket, put it more into your own home or grow your asset base. Are you looking at anything at the moment, mate?
We are in talks with the clients that we've just done the last one with. They want to do something similar or something similar along those lines. And then for us, we're always sort of buying properties, holding them, and when I say flipping them, we make them nice for us to live in, but that's obviously on point because the lease is sort of up to date with all of that stuff. So we're naturally sort of falling into that as well. So who knows with this market? I don't know. Like, do you go new or
Yeah,
do
it's
you
hard
go
to
like
know what to do.
start flipping houses? Like, who knows? We're sort of open to all options at the moment. So.
Staying agile.
Staying agile. Well, that's something we'll talk about next week's podcast. I think about the opportunities,
the environment. Yeah.
in the market. But I just think, like, we've got a husband and wife team that have both bring heaps of different things to the table. Like, you guys have got such a great opportunity. I'm preaching to the choir here, singing to the choir, but to actually get out there and do some things. And as Matt will tell you better than me, like, now is such a great opportunity to actually go and buy a couple of things. You know, we talk about buying in isolation, not in competition, because right now we just had an election and interest rates are on the move and people are sitting on their hands. You guys have got a great opportunity to go and grow your asset base further and invest sort of counter-cyclical, which we talk about a lot in our own personal lives, you know, as opposed to buying with the herd mentality. So, I think it's great what you're doing if you can get on and understand that Lisa's the boss.
I think we've all established that, haven't we?
That is the dream. That's something I talk about to Roy all the time, like that I imagine as an end game, that's where we get to, where we're just doing our own projects and I get to come in and do all the finishes and then flip them. So
and what are we in now? What month are we in? Sorry, I lose track when I'm having fun. May, June, so
June.
Just quickly, Lisa, what's on trend now? You think from a interior design point of view?
I think the main trend that it's been in for a little bit, but it will just keep going, is everyone's just loving texture. I think bringing some element of texture into the home, whether it's timber or stone, or we're seeing bricks come into the home now, the render. It just brings another element rather than just, you know, like the VJ or just a white wall. I think we might even see some wallpaper start to come back.
Wow.
Yep. I've seen that in a few banger homes.
I want to have some fun, you know, play around with all the different textures and maybe a few wallpaper walls in our new home. So see how we go.
What about you, Roy? You sort of picking up on anything?
As in trends?
Yeah.
It's changing. It's definitely gone from like the Hamptons to the coastal chic, and then it's sort of transferring into something different, which is something that we're sort of heading down, and we don't want to give away too much.
No, you stay ahead of everyone. That's it.
That's right.
But it is definitely evolving and changing, and it's all subjective to what you personally like. The stuff that we actually like, which we've always liked, is actually starting to sort of make its way into the forefront of what I suppose interior design is.
Yeah, I think the take on Hamptons, like the modern coastal, has been the big vibe, especially here on the Gold Coast for a long time.
Has been.
Yeah, and now it's starting to transition. Like Roy's next build, they're doing the farmhouse, modern farmhouse. I think that's the next sort of trend coming through.
Yeah. I was talking to Roy off air about my best mate who's a builder in Byron Bay, and he's doing a lot into the barn style and very simple, straight lines, barn style, but pretty cool.
Kind of classic,
Classic, exactly. So, no, definitely agree. Mate, I just wanted to ask you, Roy, while we've got you, we saw a couple of weeks ago some things come out about Metricon, and obviously the build game's pretty tough at the moment with the cost of materials and the shortage in labour. You got an insight, mate, on where you see it, if it's going to get better or worse before it gets better, or like how are you sort of navigating through?
Well, it's happening so rapid. Everything's changing so fast. It's every week we're getting from different suppliers a price increase and shortages and delays. So it's a moving thing. You've just got to sort of go. It's not linear. You've just got to kind of go with it and put like measures in place that sort of can help alleviate it. I think planning and timing is huge to keep your construction moving at a good pace. Like you used to have like a time frame of 6 weeks to get what you want. Now I'm working on like 3 to 4 months, thinking that I'm going to need that then. I'm going to start organising it now. And we're moving at a pretty good pace, but there still is that delay in it. As for like the housing stuff, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's such a big thing as well, just like managing your clients' expectations, because it's so different now to what it was like 12 months ago with time frames. And, you know, when someone's getting a house built, they just want it done as quickly as possible. Yeah. So it's just managing those expectations from the beginning.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We're just sort of finishing our pool at the moment, and the Tyler was there yesterday to start the coping and stuff, and we're having a yarn. And I said, "Oh, mate, how are you going with, you know, obviously all these rain delays and managing people's expectations, like what Lisa's saying. He goes, mate, people are generally pretty good, but he said, like, there's some people that have ring up and said, you told me 3 weeks and it's now 3 months. And it's like, I felt like saying, have you stuck your head out the window the last few days, the last few weeks and seen the weather?
Yeah.
And as I said to him, I said, mate, I'm sure from your point of view, you'd like to do the work because you get paid, you know?
That's right.
If you're not working, you're not getting paid. So I think generally people are pretty understanding, but there is still that minority that, we all want to get it done. I've been going 18 months. I'm sick and tired of it, but you got to understand that these things do happen, don't they?
Yeah, it's all part of the journey, isn't it? And then I guess one thing is, big takeaway I'm taking from these guys is plan. It seems like they're, from a business point of view, I love that. Like they're a team now. There's a lot of planning from you're saying there, like you're thinking months in ahead for the foresight of something going wrong potentially, which I feel any entrepreneur's got that vision. And also from the property side of things, obviously they did really well on their first project. It sounds like they had a plan as well. So that's a huge takeaway, I think, is people who are getting where they want in life. They're calculated, they're having a plan, but also taking action, so to speak. As we sort of wrap up, I just want to quickly, on a aesthetics side, this really common one, and it's probably on trend. You haven't seen it, Crossy. I got the batch pad of doom. I just put all new furniture and whatnot. Yeah, I'll get you around. I've had a crack. Give us some tips. People always ask this. I'm not qualified to talk about this, but any baseline. I've spoken to a few interior designers and stuff. What's your tips with like managing a space with colours and things like that? Do you have any rules there?
I think
Or
it
palettes
depends
or
on
anything?
the property, but my kind of go-to is keep it light and bright, and I'm very much neutral kind of girl, and then add in the colours with your accessories type of thing.
Like cushions and
Yep. And then it all depends what your plan is with the property, but if you're thinking of reselling, you kind of want it to appeal to as many people as possible. So, keeping that in mind, I think you can't go wrong with bright and neutrals.
Keep it neutral. Yeah.
Again, great advice, isn't it? Like, think with the end in mind. If your exit strategy is to sell, that's right. Different if you're going to
Whereas
live
at the moment, like this is our family home. I can't imagine us ever wanting to leave where we are. So I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. So. For everyone that can't see Roy's face at the moment, I was going to ask you that. Is that, as we wrap up, as Ram said, and like what's next for you guys? You got the 3 kids, doing really, really well. I was going to ask, I don't know if I should ask Roy now after that one, but do you see yourself there long term on the farm?
Yeah, it appeals to me with not just like the house. I want to have like a sort of a sustainable life where we grow our own vegetables. We've got our own fruit trees.
Awesome.
We've started an orchard. I sort of want to give our kids something that's a little bit organic in a sense that they still get dirty. We've got access to the Tallabudgera Creek, so we take them down there most weekends and swim.
Awesome.
I just want to give them something that's almost what we had as kids.
Yeah.
It's like his lifestyle back in New Zealand.
Yeah,
It is.
That's awesome.
And just get that, the fundamentals of life right, and then everything else will sort of fall into place, I think.
Keep them away from the devices.
Correct.
Get them
much
out
as I
there.
can,
How
yeah.
good. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So with that, I know we joke about it, but, you've bought that, moved in.
It was really funny. Yeah, we actually, because we sold Michelle Drive and then we were struggling. We gave ourselves a long settlement so we had time to find something, and we were really struggling, and we'd actually booked in to meet with you. I don't know if you knew that.
yeah.
But then we went to this auction randomly with not the intention of thinking we would buy it. We'd just been keeping an eye on it, so we were interested to see. And then it was really random. No one was bidding, so we just threw in an offer and then ended up getting it. And then it's turned out to be our dream block, and it's just
Love
something
that.
we didn't even anticipate.
They held the auction, when we had those storms recently and it was the worst flooding in Tallabudgera?
Yeah.
It was
That
the
Sunday.
Monday was the really
yes.
bad day.
The auction was on the Sunday.
And
There was like roads closed on the way there, and we
Yeah.
messaged the real estate agent, is it still going ahead? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
so maybe it was meant to be. Maybe it
Yeah.
scared off the other people and
100%.
it just worked in our favour. I don't know. It's sort of a little bit surreal, really, eh?
Yeah.
Buying in isolation, Trumps.
I was just going
Your strategy. Sorry, mate.
I was at an auction last night, right? Just before we move on, I was at an auction last night, right, in Mermaid. Beautiful home, finished project, a beautiful home.
McGrath boys.
And beautiful home, family home, really on trend with everything, and few buyers there and whatnot, and no one was bidding. No one was like, there was so many registered and whatnot, and the bidding started so low, and I just couldn't fathom. Like, obviously, if you know what the property is and what's going around, it's obviously somewhere up here. All the bids were somewhere down here, and everyone was sort of scared because of sentiment. But times like that, like, if you see a property you love, you're there to buy, right? Like, and it sounds like you are like, yeah, I'll have a bid.
Yeah.
Like,
It was so
you got to be in it to win it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's wild, and sometimes you realise, they've called it on the market. Like, if we're the only ones here, this is ours. So it just fathoms me sometimes. Just have a crack. Like, sometimes rock up to the auction as well, and don't always have the expectation that you're not going to get it. Sometimes the agent wants to sell it, and the vendors want it. There's always a situation, right, behind closed doors.
Yeah, well, they wanted to, like, it was a deceased estate, so they
There
were like,
you
it's
go.
got to sell today, and we were the only bidders, so it was just,
Unreal.
But
Yeah.
previous to that, we were the bridesmaid.
oh yeah, we
Yeah.
had
about
lost.
6 different properties.
We'd put
Yeah.
offers
We
on.
were
Yeah, it was about
second
6.
in line, and
Yeah.
we just
2 auctions we missed out.
yeah.
Yeah, it was getting. We were starting to stress,
Yeah.
and then stumbled upon this. Yeah.
That's interesting as
life.
well, because we had Liz Cantor on in one of our first episodes, and Liz was saying that same situation as you guys. She was the perennial bridesmaid on a few auctions, and in the end, she felt like agents were using her as leverage to get higher prices.
Oh, don't get Roy started.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly that.
so it's interesting. And then you fast forward to what's happened now, and I was at an auction only a month or so ago in Palm Beach, not far from my place, and I rang SRAM straight after. I said, mate, you will not believe what this place just went for. And it was well below what anyone thought. And the point being, and the takeaway is, don't assume what something's going to sell for. Like, if you're there and the only registered bidder and you've got a deceased estate or a motivated seller, you might actually just jag it. But guess what? If you're not in the game and you're not there, you're no chance of buying it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we both shook our heads at this particular price. Probably an agent that was in a different area to where they usually operate. It's like, again, Matt will talk about signs of potential good buying for his clients, and that's one of them.
Well, that's what this was as well. The agent was from Surface. He never.
Oh, see,
never
there you
worked
go.
in the
Yeah.
area.
Beautiful.
This is very common. So there's a lot of good takeaways here for people who are listening if they're looking to buy. So, yeah.
Bit of gold, isn't it? And just before we get on our little fast five, what's the legacy piece for you guys? You think, like, what's the journey thing for your kids? You you having more kids, or nah,
God,
three's
no.
enough?
If you met our kids, you'd understand.
Yeah.
Three's enough.
Yeah.
I think lifestyle. I think still do what we're doing, but get a bit of like stability in the fact that what you're sort of planning for the future. I think we're putting the wheels in motion to get what we want now. So we're just stepping stoning and building towards that.
We also have the dream of Roy's got some beautiful land in New Zealand, so we'd love to build something there that's like a family piece that just stays in the family forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Whereabouts in NZ?
It's a little town called Tutukaka, so it's Auckland, and then you've got the very tip. We're about halfway in between.
Is it like farm sort of
It's
ish?
coastal farm.
It's
Awesome.
just under
Yeah.
Bay of Islands.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
some spots in NZ are unreal.
Yeah.
It's like almost a definition of picturesque,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's like
some of those
farmland on the ocean.
on the ocean. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Can't beat it. And just quickly to digress, would you build that, mate, or what would you do?
I would, but the building cost over there is phenomenal.
Right.
Like, it's changing
Oh,
rapidly
really?
here. It's already happened there, and they're leagues ahead in price. So at the moment, it's not feasible. It's
Yep.
not worth it. We're better off reinvesting our money here and
Yep.
moving through this market, and then maybe
Later in
future
life.
do
Seeing what
something
happens.
like that.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yes, I'll definitely build it.
Yeah.
Can't let it go.
Yeah.
His brother's building his on the block next door at the moment.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
How good.
Yep.
Little family compound.
Yeah.
Basically, like commune.
That's good. Oh, well.
Yeah, let's hit him with a 5, eh? So first thing that comes to mind, any dwelling type, any location, okay? And you can have separate answers, you know.
Oh, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah, just answer,
Okay.
whatever comes up. So where's the holiday home? Any location in the world, any dwelling type.
Bali.
Yeah, we love Bali.
Yep.
Yeah?
Whereabouts?
You both say Bali, yeah?
Yeah.
Chingu, we love.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been
Yeah.
back in a few years.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a bit different now, but Yeah, we love
and
Chengdu.
Ulu.
We took our eldest son there when he was 18 months, and it was just like such a good family holiday. So
Yeah.
we can't wait to take them all back.
Do you reckon you'll go back soon?
Probably not this year. No, we're actually off to Tasmania soon, which we've never been to before. So my mind could change to Tasmania, actually.
Yeah.
One of the best spots, Tassie.
Yeah.
Blow your mind.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all the shacks and
Blow your mind.
yeah.
What's that, like a villa in Bali, you reckon? Like a nice villa over the cliff or something?
Yeah, there's a little spot in Bingen that's over the
Bingen,
surf.
yeah.
I like that. You sort of march in there and you've got to carry your gear in. But once you're in there, you're just in paradise.
Yep.
You get in, you have like fresh seafood on the beach and the surf's right in front and you're sort of looking over the water. For me, that's perfect. But
Love that.
Yeah.
And Lisa, would you go that Bali vibe, the Bali hut and the whole, like the little temples and that sort of vibe?
Probably not.
Nah.
No, I
thanks for
see
asking.
the like the modern Mediterranean sort of looks
Oh,
over there too.
yeah. Yeah,
With
the
the
Bali-
Bali twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Bali hut will come back soon.
I
I
don't
wonder.
know.
By the pool. I've
I
seen
saw there was 2 doors down from me. They've just ripped down their Bali hut.
it.
So
Did they? Yeah, mate.
maybe it's not on trend at the
Who
moment.
knows? What about a blue chip investment anywhere in the world, like just a cash flow king somewhere? Where would you put your money, you reckon? Anywhere in the world.
It's a good question. It's something that I consider quite often just driving
Yeah.
to work. Those are the sort of thoughts that
Yeah,
go
yeah.
through my mind. I'm not sure. Like I'm doing a lot of research of different things. I think there's a lot of smaller things that you can invest in and multiply those smaller things to make good money. As in,
Try to leverage your money a bit. Yeah.
yeah, or just diversify it too, not
Yep.
keep it all locked up in something. Like a house is a big investment, whereas I think you can make good money out of loads of littler ones. So what that is yet, I'm not sure. And
Yeah.
keep the chips pretty
I love
close.
to invest in a small business that's up and coming, like a new little trend that hasn't hit the market yet. And
It's cool.
you know how you see people get on board in those early stages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to find out what that is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What about the party home? We're like Bucks party, Hens party back in the day. Where are these places at? House, any location?
In the world.
Yeah.
To be honest, I like a good farm party with the boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All camping and enjoying the time and fishing, surfing, obviously everything else.
Whereabouts would that
goes with
be,
it.
you reckon?
New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
be
that's where
cool.
they all are. So there's still
Yep.
a lot of crew there, still doing those things. So yeah, that would be for me.
Oh, take me to Italy, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the Amalfi Coast or
Oh,
Positano. Yeah.
just the girls' long lunch, eh?
Did you spend much time over there when you were there?
Yeah, so I was only 21 when we were over there, so
Yeah.
budget was not
Limited.
extensive. So our idea of traveling Europe back then was very different to how I would imagine it now. So I can't wait to go back and enjoy it for the food and wine and
Yep.
not so much the partying and
Yeah.
not remembering.
Yeah. Nah, how good. My mate's his bucks was at a big farm in Byron.
Yeah.
I reckon it was the best. Yeah.
Yes.
Just a big farm, fishing and doing all that stuff. So
Simple things.
yeah, the simple things. Yeah. Yeah, you can run amok. No one can hear, right? So, and what about where's the family the forever home? You think, or have you found it already?
Yeah. So
I
if
mean,
money was no option.
yeah, no option whatsoever.
For me, it's where we are right now. I
Yeah.
think once we build it and create the whole farm aspect to it with the veggie gardens, the orchards, which are all beginning, and the house done to a stage where Lisa likes it, and the sheds. But ultimately, I see two. So I see our property in New Zealand and our
Yeah.
property here,
Yeah.
and sort of chasing the sun a little bit.
Yeah.
Going home for the summers there, and then spending the winters here.
Yeah,
which
that's our
are
dream
amazing.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bi-coastal, but I think where we are at the moment, it's just got the best of both worlds because we're only 5 minutes down the road from, in the centre of the Gold Coast again. So we've got that country feel lifestyle, but still central to everything, which was a big thing for me. So yeah, I think as long as we've got that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
We've spoken about that before. We feel that's undervalued, like how close that is actual to ocean and CBDs, but yet it could be anywhere
You
in
wouldn't
the
even
country.
know that we were, so close to everything.
Yeah.
It's wild the amount of interstate buys. They can't fathom it when I chat to them around Currumbins, Bonogans, Tully Valleys.
Yeah.
Like, they're just
Nudgies
like,
and that
yeah,
Tally,
they can't
yeah.
get over. Like you're literally so isolated, but
Mm.
the beach isn't
10
that far
minutes.
away.
Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. We're really lucky here, right?
Just quickly, I was going to ask, did I read on your Instagram with that you got the house, but you're going to convert the shed into a bit of a cottage as well?
Yeah,
What's
so we're
the
doing
plans
3
there?
stages.
Yeah.
So there's a really old shed at the back, and then there's like a newer style shed, and then there's the house. So where the old one is, that's at the back of sort of the backyard, Roy's going to put his big shed that he's dreamed of his whole life. And but we're going to put a twist on it so it looks a bit nicer and make it a barn. So we'll have some stone features.
Awesome.
Roy's going to make a big hardwood timber door, sliding barn door. So it'll look nice, but it'll be Roy's man cave / shed.
Awesome.
And then, the newer shed that's a bit closer to the house near the pool, it's going to be like a granny flat kind of pool house.
Like a pool house, yeah.
Yeah.
Really popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even though we can't imagine selling, those things will add a lot of value to the property.
It's lifestyle, right? Yeah.
So, correct.
Yeah. And just lastly, what's a key tip you think, just to buyers out there, one each? There's just a key takeaway for any buyers you think, or people wanting to do what you guys are doing?
It's not one answer, but I would say, like, know the market, understand it, be watching for a while before you do anything that's drastic, and just have a clear goal in mind what the end game is for each block. So you sort of got to be really up to date with, because it could be a triplex build, it could be a duplex build, it could be a flip. It's sort of understanding what each component, like each different opportunity arises, and how you sort of get to the end of it. If that makes
Love it.
sense.
Love it.
Great.
What about yourself, Lisa?
I think if you can, definitely try and prioritise location, because it doesn't matter. I mean, people just are sought after certain areas. So if you can secure a block in a good location, I think regardless you'll do well.
100%. Love location. Whenever someone brings up location, it's the key. It's the key.
As you say, mate, it does 80% of the heavy
Oh,
lifting.
yeah, 100%. And then everything else, if you get a good build or attend to the market, that's cream on top, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Because you can always do things to a property. Like if someone doesn't like what you've done, they can still imagine altering it, but you can't change where the house is.
can't pick up that dirt, Crossy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Can't.
No, you can't. Well,
Yeah.
guys, thanks so much for sharing so much insight. We both really appreciate it. We're so stoked to have you guys on, not only because you're from the area and you're doing great things, but I think there's a lot of potential with what you're doing as well. You're sort of in that phase where you're growing and you've got dreams. So, and you're both very talented at what you do. That's probably the big thing, right?
And I reckon, without trying to embarrass you, I think there'd be more people out there observing what you guys are doing with a great deal of admiration and probably thinking, I wish we could do that. But hopefully hearing your story today and what you've done, it might give those people some confidence to actually take the leap of faith. If they're a chippy and they're thinking they can do it themselves, or if they're a financial planner or accountant or something, they go, you know what, I need to change the scenery.
Yeah.
I think it's never too late.
Yeah.
And I think the days of, going to uni, coming out and doing the same job for 40 years, they're long gone, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So I think, be nimble, be adaptable,
Take risks.
bit of a pivot, take risks.
Yeah.
I think it's great advice. So, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Thank
And,
you.
and what's the inspo page? I know got
Give
my
it a
batch
plug.
pad looking good. What's the inspo page for anyone who's into the interior stuff?
Styled by Luee.
Styled by Luee.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. And custom built
Custom built builders.
on there as well, isn't it? Yep. Awesome.
Well, if nothing else, you've got one new follower today.
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more. Don't worry.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.